For its showpiece endurance races, Le Mans marks the 1000th Grand Prix since it all began 74 years ago in 1949. A track steeped in history is the perfect place to mark another chapter in the history of MotoGP. Let's get this party started. It's time to race in MotoGP. So the 4.19 kilometre Le Mans circuit, first built in 1965, steeped in motorsport history, of course. Great traditions here in endurance racing. The first Grand Prix was here back in 1969, where just 5 kilometres south of downtown Le Mans. It's very stop and go in nature. This circuit favours hard braking and hard acceleration. Jorge Martin was the winner of the sprint yesterday, and Enea Bastianini making this crucial move in what was a dramatic battle between the two top Ducati men here in Le Mans 1 year ago. Coming up next then in MotoGP, can Pecco Bagnaia increase his World Championship lead from pole position? Second in Spain 2 weeks ago, can Brad Binder go one better, fighting from row 4? It's 576 days since Marc Marquez's last win. Will he be back on the top step of the podium from second? And will Fabio Quartararo and Johann Zarco send over 100,000 passionate fans home happy in the 1000th Grand Prix? Welcome back and good afternoon to a very special French Grand Prix here at the legendary Bugatti circuit in Le Mans, round 5 of this year's MotoGP World Championship, and it is a special one. There's been celebrations galore throughout this weekend as the MotoGP World Championship's proud history brings us to a landmark day, the 1000th Grand Prix in history. The World Championship, its proud roots starting all the way back in 1949 at the Isle of Man. What a place to have such a milestone Grand Prix here at the iconic Le Mans circuit in France. We've got beautiful sunshine, the perfect weather to mark such a famous day in this sport's great history. 27 laps, the Chartres Grand Prix of France coming your way in just under 40 minutes time. The wonderful drone footage bringing you these scenes, those grandstands, those seats and those vantage points here around this Le Mans circuit. Well, they were taken from 6 o'clock onwards this morning. Hottest conditions of the day so far then. Ambient temperature has just nudged up to 20 degrees. Not much of a breeze around as well to disturb the riders ahead of what should be another mouth-watering French Grand Prix. Last year, of course, there was an epic showdown between Enea Bastianini and Pecco Bagnaia. Bagnaia goes from pole this afternoon. As we mentioned, this weekend has felt like it's been one long celebration, one big party, just as we knew it would be, and celebrating one of the biggest icons in the history of Grand Prix racing, a special exhibition of Giacomo Agostini's most iconic motorcycles, the Hondas, MV Agustas, motorcycles that carried him to 15 World Championships, an astonishing 122 Grand Prix wins in our previous 1000 Grand Prix. Will that tally ever be beaten? I'm delighted to say as well, not just his motorcycles are here on show for the French fans to have a look at and marvel at, but Giacomo Agostini, the Italian legend himself, is here enjoying this very special atmosphere, and he gets a special treat at the end of what's going to be, we hope, a very special Grand Prix, because Ago will wave the checkered flag at the end of this 27 lap race to our race winner. winner? Will he be doing it to an Italian or a Ducati rider? Pecco Bagnaia, as we mentioned, goes from pole third in yesterday's sprint to increase his World Championship lead to 23 points over the in-form Brad Binder, who's had 3 podiums in a row now across the sprints in Jerez and in Le Mans, second to Bagnaia in the Spanish Grand Prix 2 weeks ago. Having the absolute pleasure, honour and privilege to talk you through this 1000th Grand Prix. It's Matt Burt and Lewis Sotheby in the commentary box, Simon Crafar down in pit lane as we get set for the hottest part of the weekend, and we hope the hottest action of race day here in Le Mans.
And of course, the braking information is going to be highly important because there are a number of big stops on the first part of this Le Mans circuit. It is one of the harder circuits in terms of braking effort. The 340mm discs, which bring high mass, extreme cooling, because they will certainly send the temperatures through the roof. The hard braking stops into the Dunlop chicane, into the Museum corner, into the La Chapelle as well at the end of the back straight. Plenty of overtaking hotspots and plenty of ingredients for what should be a thrilling Grand Prix to mark this historic occasion. We had the starter yesterday with the Tissot sprint, won by Jorge Martin, who will triumph though over 27 laps over the full race distance this afternoon. It is clear who the 110,000 plus capacity crowd have come to see today. They want a French victory from either Johann Zarco or Fabio Quartararo. We'll remember the 1000th Grand Prix for a long time, and we'll certainly remember it for many, many years to come if there's a French winner today, because they have got it all to do from low down on the grid.
Yeah, Fabio Quartararo's qualifying woes continued on Saturday morning, down his 13th place on the grid, and then this crash out of the lower point scoring places in yesterday's 13-lap sprint, losing the front, pushing to the absolute limit and beyond on the ragged edge, he says. There he goes, Quartararo out of the sprint yesterday. No points on offer so far in his home Grand Prix, adding to his current woes. He's admitted himself, a personal admission, a tough one to admit as well, I'd imagine, for Quartararo. Right now, this crash compounding his misery, and this crash is the reason why he says at the moment he's going through, without any question, the toughest period of his MotoGP career. He's certainly not lacking support here this weekend. There has been thousands of French flags emblazoned with the number 20, emblazoned with Johann Zarco's number 5, but with Quartararo 13th on the grid, Zarco 9th, it's going to take something very, very special to all them to win today. Now then, we're not just celebrating the 1000th Grand Prix here in Le Mans, because there's been some special celebrations taking place all around the world, including in India, over in New Delhi. Absolutely awesome scenes, a special parade over in India. They're celebrating MotoGP, and hopefully, of course, we are going to experience MotoGP at a new venue, the Bud International Circuit. A date for your diaries, September the 24th. That just whets our appetite, doesn't it, to get to Indy for the very first time, as MotoGP continues to break new ground in its 1000th Grand Prix. Indian fans already expectant and full of anticipation as they await their heroes later this season. Love to see that. Fantastic.
Well, Le Mans is laying down the gauntlet this weekend for how raucous and how excited and energetic a crowd can be for a Grand Prix. It looks as if our fans in India are ready to answer that challenge later in the year. We look forward to heading there for the first Indian Grand Prix. Fabio Quartararo's immediate thoughts, though: can he bring some smiles to not only his own face, but to 110,000 in the grandstands? He's only scored 1 point in the sprint so far, but this is the main event. This is the Sunday Grand Prix. Of course, his one podium of this season so far did come in Austin on the Sunday afternoon from his only front 3-row qualifying of the season. He went from 7th to 3rd. When he has engaged with his many, many fans this weekend, they have brought a smile to Fabio Quartararo's face. Those smiles have been in pretty short supply in 2023. But when he hears the incredible support, when he goes to the grid and when he goes off the line, that is sure to inspire the 2021 World Champion.
And don't go anywhere, folks, because it's always one of the most special moments of the season. The rousing rendition of Le Marseillaise will ring out around this legendary Le Mans circuit. Fans, young and old, enjoying this very special occasion. This great championship started back in 1949. It was 1954, 69 long years ago since there was a French winner in the Premier class. Pierre Monneray was the last to do it. Can Quartararo and Zarco send the home fans into raptures? We just saw there a quick glimpse then of Ducati star Pecco Bagnaia. He'll feel like he's got a bit of a score to settle with this Le Mans track after his double blunder on lap 21 last year when he made the initial mistake at Garage Fair, let Bastianini through. 5 corners later, he crashed out of second place. And we knew he was going to be back with a bang. He certainly didn't disappoint us, did he? Marc Marquez, a great fight for the podium in the sprint yesterday. He starts from second on the grid. This was some of the nail-biting edge of the seat action that the 93 treated us to yesterday. It got pretty close at times, didn't it, with number 1 Pecco Bagnaia. Brad Binder was also involved in some pretty close calls, but that's what we love. Those two, they buried the hatchet afterwards. They said that's just normal racing. Bagnaia just admitting there that he flung out the left arm because it was just heat of the moment, adrenaline stuff when you get hit by a rider coming through. Nothing really in it. They just said it's normal racing, the racing that we want to see, the racing the fans crave to see. Pecco Bagnaia, though, will be hoping that he's got something more for Brad Binder and Jorge Martin in the 4-length race this afternoon. Speaking of Martin, Lewis, his first sprint win and a long overdue first visit back to the top step of the podium for Jorge Martin, because he's had to wait a while, and you feel like that was a big release for him yesterday.
A big moment. First win of any kind since the Styrian Grand Prix of 2021, his sole Grand Prix victory in the Premier class. We did think at the start of the year when this new format was introduced that the Tissot sprint would suit Jorge Martin and his characteristics down to the ground. A good start was important, of course, as he gained a couple of places very early on that inside line into turn 1. What was crucial really for Martin in the sprint yesterday was at that point in the sprint when Bagnaia was encountering some problems, some lacks of confidence with his front tyre. Martin was able to pull around a second and a half of an advantage, which by the time Brad Binder moved up into second place, Martin was already way up the road and able to manage that gap to the end of the race. So a first sprint win of the season for Jorge Martin. This was him coming out of the Recordement to take the checkered flag. Can he convert that? Can he do the Le Mans double and take the victory over 27 laps today? He goes from the middle of row 2.
That's the perfect way to celebrate your first win in a MotoGP sprint. The Prima Pramac Racing team, they certainly revelled in that one. Lewis mentioned, can he make it the double then? Such huge expectations with their armada of Ducati riders. Bagnaia going from pole, the confidence-boosting, morale-boosting sprint win yesterday for Jorge Martin. And let's get some pre-race thoughts of Ducati Corsa Sporting Director Paolo Ciabatti, I'm delighted to say, is down with Simon. Down to you both.
Yes, he is. He's just having a chat now with the main man from Pramac. And I think he's going to jump across to us. Paolo, can you give us your thoughts on yesterday's race, first of all, before we speak about today's race? Early on, Pecco was like we knew he would be, fast, and then he had that little window where he didn't seem to be able to go with him. He got his confidence back and came strong at the end. Your thoughts on that, and how, have they found a way to stop that happening in today's race, and how you think he'll go?
Yeah, as you said, unfortunately, he was not super happy with the performance of, I think, bike and tires in the first part of the race. So he lost contact mainly to Martin, who did a fantastic job. And then I think this fight with Marquez made him lose a little bit the rhythm. He came back very strong at the end. He was almost closing very close to Binder. So I think today, hopefully, normal race distance will help to get a better result. But for sure, a third place is good. Ducati winning with Martin is good for Ducati. We can say that definitely the KTM are very strong and the riders are doing very good.
Regarding Martin, I fully expected him to do this earlier, and it's been a little bit disappointing, I imagine, for all involved, because I imagine Pramac team, I spoke to them before the season start, how they knew he was so good at the sprints. And can you give us your thoughts on that? He was amazing yesterday, but it seemed to arrive later than all expected.
Yeah, in a way, I agree with you, even though we know Jorge is a great talent, but for whatever reason, he never was able to have a perfect weekend lately. Tomorrow yesterday was really impressive. Let's see if we can keep a rhythm for the whole race distance. This has been always one of his limits still, that he would be doing very well in the first half of the race and then somehow lose ground in the second half. But he's still young, and he's one of, I think, the best talents here in terms of speed. He can be very fast on the qualifying, as we all know, and we still have a lot of confidence that he can still make a step, and then it will be a tough competitor for everyone.
Paolo, thank you for your time and good luck this afternoon.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Paolo Ciabatti, thanks to Simon Crafar. We were just seeing there, weren't we, on screen, some of the replays of the frenetic action that was raging behind Jorge Martin in that sprint. It was involving Marc Marquez, Brad Binder, Pecco Bagnaia. They all certainly came into the post-race celebrations with big smiles on their faces. I think they loved that close combat. Aleix Espargaro did a pretty good job yesterday, didn't he? After starting 11th, he'll start, of course, 11th for the main Grand Prix today. A bit battered and bruised, some heavy abrasions across all of his body. He's got a couple of punch wounds in his left arm as well after that super scary 300-kilometre-an-hour get-off in the first corner. Aleix Espargaro, not a bad job, was it, yesterday, picking up an 8th place in the sprint. Not where he wants to be, but at least it was a good recovery job after a horrible Saturday morning.
He's yet to finish higher than 5th on a Sunday afternoon so far this year. Yet to finish on the podium in either a sprint or a Sunday Grand Prix so far this season. Of course, it was this stage of last year where Aleix Espargaro couldn't do anything but finish on the podium. Podium here last year behind the eventual winner, Enea Bastianini and Jack Miller. But Aprilia not able to necessarily get the grip position, and when they got the grip position in Jerez, they couldn't get off the start line either relative to the KTMs. So Aleix Espargaro goes from 11th on the grid. His teammate Maverick Vinales, who had his own qualifying problems, he goes from the back of the second row in 6th.
Again, more wonderful, unique shots being captured by our drone cameras there. Makes you think, doesn't it, when you see the modern technology, the modern bikes, and how we're able to bring you the coverage now, MotoGP, how things are so different to what it must have been like in that very first Grand Prix over on the Isle of Man in 1949. Can you imagine telling the starters on that day that there'll be cameras flying over the riders' heads as they leave pit lane? Amazing stuff by Nacho Deval, of course, who's always had recommended, and a specialist drone pilot. He just brings us some absolutely sensational coverage throughout this 2023 season.
And if you told them about some of the motorcycles with the ride height devices and the aerodynamics and obviously the strength of the competition as well in MotoGP nowadays, Grand Prix racing is in many ways all about evolution. And that includes Michelin, our tyre suppliers. Those are the options ahead of them today. The 3 options on the front and the 2 options on the rear. The 2 compounds brought for the rear tyres here, the soft and medium asymmetric rear options. The right-hand side of the tyre is the hardest part of the tyre. Look at that attendance. Nearly 280,000 fans have packed themselves through the gates here at Le Mans, the biggest MotoGP attendance ever on the historic weekend of the 1000 Grand Prix. The biggest attended sporting event in France this year. And we thank all of the fans who've made this an atmosphere that none of us will ever forget.
It's an historic weekend for MotoGP, and we get in our 1000th Grand Prix. How appropriate, how fitting is that to have an all-time record crowd across the weekend? Carmelo Espeleta there, echoing those sentiments. To break the all-time record and see it's well over 250,000 people is something truly special. What a way to mark 1000 FIM Grand Prix. Thank you to the French fans. Thank you to fans who've come from all around the world to take part in these special celebrations. That banner is what it's all about. The big cake with the 1000 on it. That is incredible. What a job the French Grand Prix have done. That's why I'm so happy we've got glorious sunshine and the prospect of a memorable 27-lap French Grand Prix. Over 250,000 people have come through the gates here this weekend. Just feels fitting and appropriate, doesn't it, that we get MotoGP's best ever crowd through on what is such a fantastic day for the sport that we all love.
To give you a little bit more background behind that, there were 88,000 fans here just for Sprint Saturday alone yesterday, which is an incredible number, and over 112,000 fans here today. And of course, many of them will have number 5s on their caps, on their shirts, on their flags, cheering on Johann Zarco who managed to register his best sprint result of the season so far yesterday. The Frenchman coming through to finish in 6th place. What can he achieve this afternoon, coming through from 9th on the grid?
We're about to see a presentation ceremony very, very soon where the French Grand Prix will be presented with the Best Grand Prix of 2022 award. They're going to be favourites to keep that, aren't they, this season as well. Let's go quickly down to Simon Crayford on the grid. Prima Planet Racing's Gino Borsoy after the Martin sprint win yesterday. Simon, down to you.
Yeah, guys, I've got to say, the atmosphere here is awesome. There's people both sides yelling to what the commentator's saying. Amazing. Gino, yesterday, your rider Jorge Martin did an amazing job. I'd like to know what you think he can do today, but also we're standing next to Johan Zarco, and as you mentioned this morning, he was very quick, especially towards the end of the race.
Well, honestly, it was a really nice day yesterday, not because he got a victory, but because the pace was amazing from the beginning. I hope we can keep this pace for the long days. About Zarco, I'm happy also because, as I said before in my interview, his pace at the end of the race, as always, was amazing like Martin. So seems he's okay for the long distance. Let's see. But I'm quite confident about all of them.
Gino, a quick congratulations to you for your first win as a team manager in the big class yesterday. I hope you have many more.
Finger crossed.
Thanks, Simon. Quick run through of the grid then. Bagnaia, Marquez, Marini on your front row from Miller, Martin and Viñales. Bezzecchi, Alex Marquez and Johan Zarco on row 3. Then Binder, Aleix Espargaro and Augusto Fernandez. Fabio Quartararo, Taka Nakagami and Fabio Di Gianantonio. They are together on row 5. Joan Mir, Frankie Morbidelli and Alex Rins share row 6. Danilo Petrucci, Lorenzo Savadori and Jonas Folger start at the back of the grid on row 7. Along with the names, of course, the initial tyre information. Everybody, by the looks of it, going for that softer rear tyre to start that Grand Prix. A little bit more variance on their front tyre options. Of course, when the final decisions are made, when they eventually set off on the grid for the warm-up lap, we will give you full information as to what their starting tyres are. Of course, it was a key talking point in the sprint yesterday. A number of the KTMs went for that medium front tyre. It didn't exactly have universal positive results for them. It did for Brad Binder, but not for many of the other KTMs on the grid.
There aren't many better starters in MotoGP right now, and that man we're just looking at there, are there? The South African superstar, 27-year-old Brad Binder. This is what it's all about then. The journey through 74 years of MotoGP history. The evolution of the fastest and most exotic motorcycles ever built, all the way to the present day, from 1949 to 2023. Just get that feeling, don't you, with a record crowd, the atmosphere here, the weather, that we're about to witness something very, very special here in this French Grand Prix in Le Mans. Can this man deliver something special from the back of that third row? Johan Zarco, his first ever MotoGP podium was here back in 2017. He was also on pole here in 2018. Unfortunately crashed out of that race. There is downtown Le Mans then, a population of just over 140,000. As you mentioned, a place that is steeped in motorsport history. The remnants of a former Roman warlord visible in the old town. I've actually been there this weekend. It's not just a circuit steeped in history, but a town that's steeped in history as well. I couldn't believe it as well. I couldn't believe this stat as well. It's twinned with Bolton, a place in Lancashire in northern England. A little factoid there. Here you go then. This is a special presentation. In the middle of your picture there, getting a warm embrace from Carmelo Espeleta on your left, the Dorna CEO, is Le Mans promoter Claude Michy, who single-handedly, with a great team behind him, has made this French Grand Prix the envy of the world. What a job he's done at promoting this race. Hervé Poncharal there, a big smile. Those three men have done so much to transform the fortunes of the French Grand Prix. There is the presentation then. Le Mans awarded the best GP of 2022. Congratulations to Claude Michy and all of his team, because this is now a must-attend event almost, Lewis. If you've got a bucket list, there's a Grand Prix you want to come to, make sure at some point in the future you find your way to getting a ticket for the Charter Grand Prix of France, because you will not be disappointed.
In terms of pure motorsport, Le Mans is already a destination venue, of course, with its 24-hour pass, but the MotoGP race, the Grand Prix of France, is already becoming one of the destination events on the calendar. All the way back on Thursday afternoon, the pit lane was absolutely chock-a-block with spectators watching and trying to get a glimpse of their heroes in pit lane, including world champion here on screen, Pecco Bagnaia. And of course, right the way from Friday through to today, we've had bumper crowds, incredible atmospheres, and it's all building to this crescendo Sunday afternoon at Le Mans, the French Grand Prix, in front of a sellout.
Fair to say that if you're on those campsites, you've probably not had too much sleep.
No.
Sleep deprived over the course of the weekend, but hey-ho, all worth it for the unique experience, isn't it, to be here for the 1000th Grand Prix. Marco Bezzecchi, 7th, slipping down now to 3rd in the World Championship, having missed out in the sprint yesterday. He's now behind Pecco Bagnaia and Brad Binder in the championship standings. He was the early pacer, wasn't he, of course, after his breakthrough first win in Argentina.
Fans young and old soaking up the atmosphere. Of course, many of them idolising Fabio Quartararo.
I'll tell you what, these are kicking
Rather
off
him than
more
me.
pre-race celebrations. The tightrope walker show. Look at these scenes. Tightrope walking right over the main front straight here in Le Mans. Now that is not a gig for the faint-hearted, is it? That is not an experience that I would like to go through, to be honest. I've got shocking vertigo. What a shot that is. Who'll be scaling the dizzy heights in this French Grand Prix in about 15 minutes' time? I'm getting quite anxious here. I've got sweaty palms in the commentary box. I can barely watch this. Get across quick, please. It's not good for my heart rate at my age.
Well, the gentleman on the right's got the whole shot at the moment. He's got about a 1 second lead, although he looks as if he's sort of been stopped in his tracks a little bit. But this is the first race. Who's going to win this one?
Who's going to win the tightrope walker sprint? T-Cell will be sponsoring this next year, won't they? Absolutely brilliant. These are the reasons why we love the French Grand Prix. These amazing shots are exactly why the fans can't wait to find out when the date is for French Grand Prix. This is the show, the spectacle that Claude Michy and his team put on. You've got to have some trust in the people that put up those ropes, haven't you? The fans are loving it. And, of course, we've still got to come the national anthem, which is always a special moment, the Marseillaise. That has been brilliant. We've got our first winner, though, ahead of this 1000 Grand Prix. They're carrying 1000 GP flags as well. Fair play. What a spectacle. What a show. The fans loved it. We loved it.
I don't have that kind of balance on concrete, let alone on a tightrope.
Awesome. That is awesome. A very, very different way to continue the build-up to this historic race here. No wonder they're getting a rapturous round of applause. Love that. Absolutely brilliant. Now then, back to reality, back down onto the ground as well, back on terra firma. I'm delighted to say Simon Crowfoot is with Red Bull KTM factory racing boss Pit Barr. They are having a fantastic 2023. Can Brad Binder make it a double podium in the last 2 races? We'll find out, because Simon is with Pit now.
I am. We're standing right next to Brad's bike and Pit. Tell us, first of all, the advances KTM have made this year have surprised everyone, really good, but also the level that your riders are putting in is also surprised everyone, including the other riders on the grid. Give us your thoughts going into this one.
Well, I think we are in a great moment of the project that, like, both of these guys believe 100% in the bike. We could deliver them some small candies which made their life maybe better. They have confidence. Now you can see the full strength of the rider, because only a confident rider is bringing his maximum performance. And I feel both are ready to do it, to show us, and they did in Jerez, and Brad did another fantastic race yesterday. Just his starting position makes me again a little bit nervous. We know what we can do at the start from first and second row. We have seen that last week, but he needs to show his Brad Binder special thing again in the first lap today. But well, we just enjoy the moment. I feel the package is great, the team is great, the atmosphere is cool, and based on positive vibes you can bring results. So let's hope we have a good day.
Thanks, Pit, and best of luck this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks to Pit Barr. These are times to enjoy and savour, aren't they, for the factory KTM team. The Saint-Julien Cathedral Bit of a Sunday market going on down there by the looks of it as well. Some bargains to be had. These people, though, aren't interested in Sunday markets. They're interested in Sunday race days, spectacular shows in MotoGP. What an atmosphere it is here. You can feed off it. You can feel it here just in the commentary box. Imagine what it's like there down on the grid. Let's just quickly pop down to Simon before we have the Le Marseillaise ring out. Simon, down to you.
Yeah, just something quick before we go to the national anthem, and then I'll get back on to some more interviews. But something I'm really curious to see, keep an eye out, is how many riders go for the hard front tyre. And I know they wouldn't give it away before coming to the grid. Yesterday, many that run the medium complained, of locking, and Jack fell, a couple of others had bad experiences. So I think they're either going to go soft or leap all the way to the hard. I'm really curious who's going to do that.
Yeah, when we were running through the grid earlier on, Simon, absolutely could not agree more. I just spotted when they came to the grid, this was initial time information, that could change. Maverick Vinales, Brad Binder and Aleix Espargaro, who ran the hard in the sprint yesterday, they came to the grid at least with the hard front. Taka Nakagami and Fabio Quartararo I spotted had gone harder from the soft to the medium. Everybody else was on the soft combination, but myself and Lewis are going to be keeping a very close eye on that. But initially it was Vinales, Binder and Aleix Espargaro on the hard front. He's enjoying the party, isn't he? He's getting the fans whipped up into a frenzy. I've got to say as well, credit to the local circuit announcer here in France, because for years he does a phenomenal job of creating this energy, creating this feel-good vibe here in Le Mans. Those fans, they were up very, very early this morning to secure their vantage point for this 27-lap shot Grand Prix of France. And it has been, and I hope it's been worth the wait, because we are now just, 10 minutes or so away from the start of the French Grand Prix, the 1000th Grand Prix 2023. Very, very shortly as well, La Marseillaise will ring out. Special proud moments of Fabio Quartararo and Johann Zarco. We will stay quiet and let you enjoy this unique moment on our World Championship calendar. Got goosebumps. The hairs on the back of my neck are standing up. What a rendition that was of La Marseillaise. Vive la France! Special moments of Fabio Quartararo and Johann Zarco ahead of their home Grand Prix. They've been here, done it and got the t-shirt before, but never in this kind of electric atmosphere. MotoGP's all-time record crowd then, as the dignitaries start to clear away. Hervé Poncharal, Tech 3 KTM boss, and Carmelo Espeleta, the Dorna CEO, who's contributed so much to the previous 999 Grand Prix here. Before this 27-lap race gets underway, no French riders ever won in the Premier class at Le Mans. Can that change it today? Lynn Jarvis, factory Yamaha boss. Can Fabio Quartararo find his way through from 13th place? Let's find out from Lynn, who's been signing on the grid.
He is. Lynn, it feels like a difficult moment of the project that you're the boss of at the moment, but I watched closely as always, and I saw that you're still experimenting with setup. I saw Fabio ran a shorter bike yesterday. It looks like it's changed slightly again today. He seemed fast in the race. If he gets to the start, has he got the pace to go with him?
Well, I mean, huge crowd here, big noise. I think it's pretty tough to think about the podium when you start this far back on, P13. So our biggest handicap at the moment is we're still unable to get there, get straight through into Q2. So, and that gives us a handicap before we start every race. His race pace is pretty good. He was running good in the race yesterday, but as he said, you're on the limit everywhere, so it's very easy to make a mistake. So I think if he can get a good start, get through turn 2 and 3 safely, he could have a good race, but maybe realistically, max P5, I think, that's my hope.
I want to wish you the best of luck for Fabio's home race. Thanks
very much. Thank you.
So a good start essential for Fabio Quartararo. So difficult, I'd imagine, for him to try and keep his emotions under control when he listens to that noise either side of him. Marc Marquez looks firmly in the zone, doesn't he? Looking to take his first MotoGP victory since the 2021 Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. That was 567 days ago. Marc Marquez goes from the middle of the front row of the grid, of course. All of his points in 2023 so far have come in the Saturday sprint in Portimao and yesterday here at Le Mans. His only Sunday appearance in 2023 did not go particularly well, did it, of course? Marc Marquez, of course, involved in that multiple rider crash. Very quickly, before we get underway, let's head back down to the grid and hear from Simon Craver, who's with Michelin Motorsports two-wheel director Piero Taramasso.
Piero, I'm really interested to hear what you think riders are going to choose, especially front tyre-wise.
Yes, the front tire is the main let's say, issue. The temperature is close to yesterday, so no many change. Many riders with a soft front, mainly the Ducati, let's say. Some they will try the hard on the front. The Aprilia yesterday try Aleix. I think Maverick and maybe Savadori they will try the hard. And for Yamaha, some Honda will be medium. So we will see all the three front specification on the track.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks, Piero Taramasso. That just adds to the intrigue and the potential drama, doesn't it, with a real mixed choice in terms of those front tyres. We know that, or it looked like Viñales, Brad Binder and Aleix Espargaro certainly were going to take the punt on the hard front. The only man that's run a hard front tyre at any stage pre-today was Aleix Espargaro in that 13-lap sprint yesterday, so I'm not surprised to see him go for it.
Key decisions to be made, aren't they, coming onto this grid? Key decision awaiting Jack Miller, who admitted he probably made a mistake yesterday with his tyre choice. It's the best ever KTM qualifying here at Le Mans. 4th position. Jack Miller looked on Friday as if he was going to do even better than that. A costly crash for him in the sprint yesterday, going down out of 3rd place on lap 2. But Jack Miller is firmly in the conversation for potential race victory this afternoon.
His last 2 visits to the French Grand Prix in Le Mans have yielded a 1st and a 2nd place. Well, they're pledging their allegiance, aren't they, to Yamaha and Fabio Quartararo. Wonderful home race helmet design from the 2021 world champion. It certainly has been a season to forget so far for the 24-year-old. Can he turn the corner? Can he transform his flagging fortunes here this afternoon in France? The BMW safety car powers away from the head of the grid. 5 minutes away then from one of the biggest races in Grand Prix history, as we mark the 1000th Grand Prix in our history. I think 900 was in Motorland Aragon 6 years ago, back in 2016. So then your front row of the grid for the Chartres Grand Prix of France in 2023. Luca Marini on the Muni VR46 Racing Team Ducati. Marc Marquez looking for a first win in 567 days since the Emilia-Romagna race back in 2021. And for the 13th time in MotoGP, Pecco Bagnaia starts from pole position as we get set for a historic French Grand Prix.